Hey, what's up? This is Josh. I'm just kind of focusing on the tilapia portion here of what we got going. We used to operate out of a house that we had, and that just kind of got too small for our growth. So we bought a farm, and this is one of the buildings on the farm, and we've kind of retrofitted and converted this into a fish hatchery. So we are a licensed hatchery with the state of Illinois, and you can check us out. We've got a Facebook page. It's www.facebook.com/GFHfarms, and that's Golf Foxtrot Hotel Farms. So that's just your, be able to understand what that is. So we also have a website called greenfinnedhippy.com. I'll be posting that in the description as well in case anybody's interested in seeing that. So you can see here our first specimen is this is Sid Fish's. He's a white Nile male. He is pretty large, and I've been crossbreeding him with these red Niles over here, and it seems to be producing some good offspring. And these are some of the offspring in here. They are the ones that are red but with spots on them, black spots. And some are white Nile that's in there too, and I'm kind of comparing the growth rate to them. And the hybrids seem to be growing at a lot faster rate, which is awesome. I was hoping for that since this male here is so gigantic, and he's pretty healthy. He's quite a bit bigger than the girls, as you can see. So, but yeah, that's this tank here. I'm working on breeding some Hawaiian golds here soon. I got to get that set up. And I had fish in this tank, but I moved them into the big tanks. This tank overflows down into the bottom one. I've got a pump in there, and it pumps water up and helps to filter with this trap here. So a lot of the younger ones get to go in this tank before they end up graduating to these big tanks here. So I've just hatched some fry this past weekend. Some of them are in there swimming around. These are all white Nile, straight, strain. They're all white now, no hybrid work into them at all. So they seem to be pretty healthy. So I've also got some fingerlings down here. Not much though. I just cleaned out these tanks here. These are for my fry to go in after we birth them. This is kind of a holding tank setup. So this tank down here has also just been cleaned. It had some fingerlings, and they kind of go to different tanks at different ages. When they're born, they're put in these tanks here to kind of control feeding for them. And once they start to get a little bit bigger, we drain the tanks and we graduate them to either that tank or one of those two tanks. And then when they get a little bit bigger, past an inch, they'll go into one of these two tanks. And then from these two tanks, they'll go into the big 275-gallon tanks. So, yeah, that's kind of how the fish going. I can go to the other breeders that I've got set up. I got some red Nile breeders here, but I'm taking a white Nile male here and breeding with some red Niles as well for creating the hybrids. And this guy's a red Nile stud. I'm going to be breeding him probably with some Hawaiian gold females to make I don't know, just a hybrid between that and see what how they produce. It's mostly just I'm trying to work with good genetics here so that I can produce a faster growing, healthier strain that is still resistant to a lot of cold water and any kind of disease issues. So, but this is a red Nile male stud here. He is one of the larger of my red Niles, and I've got white Nile females here. And I've had these girls for quite a while. They're in some of my original videos, and they've been breeding for quite a while, like I said. So years, actually. So they've been put to work for quite a while. This tank I don't have anything in right now. It'll eventually be another breeder tank. Some of the fish that I have, just from what I've been breeding. Here's a mix between some white Nile and some red Nile young. I mean, they're only maybe 3-inch, 4-inch size fish. In here I've got some larger ones. Some of these are ready to eat. They're all pretty much white Nile. They're not coming up to the top. They're a little shy. But they are doing really well. They'll be eating size here pretty soon. And in this tank I've got a bunch of Hawaiian gold that I'm going to be working on breeding. They've already started to kind of breed in this tank some, and I just need to get them kind of in a more controlled setup where I can get the fish sooner rather than later. And kind of what's growing on, I've got kale started. So that's coming up. I transplanted a basil cutting that I cloned, and I'm just kind of trying to focus on kale. I seem to, in my previous experience with working with these systems, kale seems to have worked a lot better than a lot of other things, and I'm going to focus on leafy greens and basil and that such, just because I'm lazy and don't feel like pollinating flowers anymore. But other than that, everything's kind of working pretty well. I plan on putting in more videos eventually based on my progress on stuff. I'm eventually going to install up top near the ceiling a regenerative blower to run PVC down each one of these tanks so that I can have a large supply of air being pumped into them. Right now, the only thing that's providing fresh water is whenever the pump kicks on and it distributes water down, and that's not going to be enough when I decide to populate these tanks more heavily. So, other than that, we're kind of reaching the end of the whole tilapia setup. Thanks for watching, and stay tuned. The next build is I'm going to build another setup stand probably in this area here. Take this table out, and this gigantic 125-gallon tank I'm going to sit on a bottom shelf. It's too darn heavy to move, and I'm going to put this tank on top. It's got an overflow built into it as well, so it'll work just fine for the setup that I plan to use it for. So stay tuned for that, and there'll be plenty more videos on what we're doing here, and eventually I'm going to kind of give more how-to videos on what to do to get started if you're interested in doing it. So, but yeah, thanks for watching, and stay tuned.